Hey everyone, I'm just going to give it a few minutes.
Good morning, Papi.
Good morning, Bill. How are you?
I am good, and thank you for sending me the invite.
My pleasure. Well, today's meeting can either be like super brief or super long, depending on how the cookie crumbles.
Which way do you want it to be? We'll do opposite.
Okay, if we keep it at the head count we're at, it's going to be super brief. Kevin's here, which is good, and you guys are here. I think I did too good a job of telling people it's a working meeting.
Scared them off.
Scared them off, 100%. Except that the people I wanted that need to be at the working meeting aren't here, the other 8 companies. Wait, no, you got you guys. Keith is with D Matrix, so we got 1, 2, David 3, Bill 4. We're missing 7. Okay.
Hey,
All right.
Boppy, this is Keith from D Matrix.
Yep.
If you're gonna go ahead and get started, that's fine. But I wanted to just see if at some point we could discuss any of the logistics. I've never been to OCP with D Matrix, and so I want to make sure that if there's anything else beyond kind of some of the stuff we've been putting in the document that I need to think about or have ready, that would help me.
Okay, we can certainly do that. All right, we can absolutely do that, Keith.
Okay.
Like the
Thank you.
entire purpose of this meeting is to sort of wade through a whole bunch of little things to get ready for the summit. And Shahab, Quinn, what's your preference? Should we wait? Let's give it 2 more minutes and then we'll do the Die to Die 5 workshop and then get to those the summit stuff.
Okay.
Sure.
What do you want to cover besides just giving an update?
That's it. It's just like a long extended session of patting ourselves on the back. I'm sorry, man. I'm in a silly mood this morning. I apologize.
Okay, I'm actually laughing at that one.
All right. And let me share my screen. We have made really good progress on this thing. Except, I said I opened the wrong one. Hang on.
Like a different workshop.
Yeah, but it's basically something we copied.
I know, I'm kidding.
I liked it, so we just said, how the heck do we copy that? Oh, that's never mind. Shahab, do you want to get started while I find that website?
Sure. Thanks for everyone. I think finally we have a good plan. We're gonna start basically with the 2 general talks reviewing bunch of wire and UCIe. Then we switch the gear and we go to the vendor IPs. In total, we're gonna have 6 electrical either implementation of the BO or UCIe or basically another types of die-to-die like silicon interposer based like GUC. Then we're gonna hit the launch. After launch, we're gonna have 3 talks about the photonics die-to-die solutions. After that, we're gonna go to basically application and user who develop a system based on either UCI or bunch of wire. Where D Matrix and Marvel they're gonna talk. Then we have a workshop, 30 minutes, going over the figure of merits and how we should capture the data for each file. And at the end, we have a buyers panel. We have people from Meta, Google, Lawrence Berkeley Lab, where they're gonna share what they need from a die-to-die performance from the user perspective. Location is in Carnegie Mellon University, Silicon Valley. We hopefully wrap up everything by 4:30 p.m. Thanks to Elion, they are sponsor for food and drinks. That's all I remember, Boppy. Anything that I missed, Quinn, Boppy, please fill in.
So Shab's covered the content. We're right now, I think we're kind of space limited. So on-site attendance is we're limiting it to by invitation until we figure out what our space constraints are. And if there's sufficient interest, we'll do a sort of live Zoom call. If not, we'll just make the presentations available after the workshop.
Yeah, Bappy, yes on the live Zoom call.
Okay, good to know. Thank you. We'll try to hopefully put a button, and it's a it turned out to be a pretty interesting agenda. I think we got like a good mix of vendors, users, and standards. I'm pretty excited on the 16th and the Monday of the Global Summit. Hopefully, so one of the things we're really excited by is we want this to be, or at least I want this to be, a prototype workshop that, in fact, I got this idea by watching the CDX guys meet on the side at last year's Global Summit. I'd like to kick off a few detailed technical workshops where you sort of spend much more time in the weeds than in a regular session, which tends to be more high level. So hopefully we're going to do one on CDXML. We might do one on package design. The general intent is to sort of do a deep dive on things that we care about.
Hey, Bobby, it's Cliff. My question is there some longer term intent for the outcome from this workshop around creating a contribution or some
good point. Thank you.
product?
Yes. So as many of you are aware, we produce Shahab's been leading the effort the last two times, for the last is to produce a die-to-die comparison spreadsheet. We'd like to make that much more formal in some sense this year. Our immediate goal is to produce a white paper with a few co-authors from this workshop, which sort of says, if you're going to measure a die-to-die phi, do it using the following metrics and measure them the following way and get some industry consensus and alignment. Based on the workshop. And that's what the metrics, we have a session entirely devoted to metrics that Shahab will lead. And the idea is to get consensus on metrics that matter. And hopefully the buyers will also sort of ask for that set of metrics as they evaluate five.
So then this would be a white paper that would be contributed to the OCP?
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
One other question I had was, are you asking the folks presenting their FIs to share certain information that's going to feed into the creation of these metrics? The reason I ask that is, if I'm assuming we don't want to have a rehash of previous workshops where people just talk about their FI at high level or in general, right? We need something different or more.
Right. So that's a really good concern, one that Shahab shares. So we're trying to figure out where I split this into two stages. There's some sensitivity, different vendors have different degrees of sensitivity about their parameters. We have offered, let me stop sharing it. We have offered people a template in which they can share their FI results. Let me pull that up. I lost it again.
Sorry if I'm asking the obvious questions, but I was just curious to see how.
Yeah, no, you got a valid point. But the intent is if we can all agree on the metrics, whether you report them in private or whether you report them publicly, at least if you're all reporting the same thing, that seems to be a good first step.
Yeah, there's a very good analogy, Bobby, between some of the work going on now in security group and a program we're launching at Summit called SAFE, where the actual metrics that are going to be used to evaluate device security are going to be a contribution to the OCP and made public. But then when an auditor uses that, the report itself might be private.
Exactly. We would like to encourage more people to make their reports public, but for now, at least I'm okay if they choose to make their data private, as long as when they report it in this structure.
And we also have the concept, and we'll see how that works, where there may be a long version of the report that's private, but a short version of the report that is made public.
There you go, Shahab.
Yeah, that would be great. I agree with you that the longer version could be private, but the goal is let's see how much we can get, as much as we can get to the public domain. And one of the things is not just the number, the way that we are basically measuring those numbers. For example, the famous figure of merit of gigabit per second per millimeter for a short line, even at the abstract level that we receive from people, the same problem exists. Adding TX and RX or just reporting one direction of TX and RX. This is a simple thing that actually changes the figure of merit for factor of 2. If we get the people at least even reporting based on the one standard way of measurement, not even participating to share their private information, I think it's good. Or at least as a contribution when OCP asks for this information and follow up based on that, if they are reporting some numbers based on that white paper, that would be good.
Yeah.
So for this workshop, it is the goal is to sort of get at least agreement on these parameters, as much and more. The more people are willing to report in public, the better. But at least we want everybody to align on definitions and agree in public. This is the template we supplied to everyone who submitted a paper saying, please, if you can, please use this template to for your presentation.
And our goal is actually to review the presentation before final submission and making sure at least.
Hey,
the
Bobby?
table.
Yeah, go ahead.
Is this going to be only in person, or is this also people can join online?
Trying to figure that out, Bill, depending on the demand, because maintaining an online, it's a very lightweight workshop with sort of almost zero sort of people staffing it up front, etc. So I think if there's enough demand, we'll do an online Zoom thing, but it'll probably won't be really interactive for the online people. It'll just be more like watch and listen. I'm reasonably certain we won't be doing sort of an interactive online version, sort of interact with an online audience during the workshop.
I was thinking that if you remember the way that John Schaaf had for that workshop.
Yep, exactly.
He had it in person at first, and then I think 48 hours before that, he had it for people to register online. And the way that he did it is so that those people online can reach in, but those people who really he want to come, they were already registered.
Yeah, that's roughly the mod. Yes, exactly. I like that a lot too. So
yeah, I think you may want to check with him on how he did it. But
yep.
But I thought that in 24 hours he had about 450 people online registered.
Yeah, exactly. So we
And Bapi, I know this is a contentious topic. What are your thoughts about people sharing for the die-to-die their footprints, or where the bumps are placed?
I mean, the part of this workshop is to get consensus on what should be shared, what's public, and if it's shared, how it's shared. So I'm all game. It depends on whether we can get enough people to come along for the ride. What I think we can achieve is if we have a list of things, we can at least agree on common definitions for those, is what I'm hoping.
Okay.
So share all your footprints in this format. Do this. We can agree on that. Is what I, and it's something maybe Shahab. What we can do is just kind of do pre-workshop, do a survey of things that are on people's minds, and so that we're marginally organized before the 30-minute session.
It's a great idea. We can send it.
Yeah, and Poppy, the other thing I would suggest is, if we make this less prescriptive and more descriptive, but accurate, right? That basically, if we can at least come together on what we think, how it should be measured, and publish that. I guess what I'm trying to say is I don't think we need to have approval of enough people to publish this and say this is how we think it should happen, if we're confident in our direction. And people may come in line later.
Yeah, but it would be nice to have a little bit of company, at least a couple of additional.
The
we don't-
exercise phase, basically, we like to get the basically approval from the people who they're gonna actually fill it.
But yeah, we're not looking for unanimity, Cliff. I agree 100%. Sorry, I spoke over somebody. I apologize. But ideally, we'd like 2 to 3 companies to join us in writing join the current participants in putting together a white paper which identifies that. And we think the way you're thinking, Cliff, but more people will join as this becomes acceptable.
Yeah. One other thing, Poppy, that I don't know if you're going to be able to talk about it in the workshop, but it's not always obvious, I think, to someone who's a consumer of, chiplets already in a package, and they're buying a device with the chiplets packaged internally, that they would matter what PHY is being used. Is there some discussion about why they should care about the PHY?
Yes, that's this. Hopefully that's this session. And we've got D-Matrix and Marvell talking about that.
Okay, great. Thank you.
I would like to follow what the comment is, that there need to be a way in which this material will be connected with people who are working on, let's say, packaging design. We talked about advanced package, and I think that bridge, the bridge of connecting that would be important, and I think that would be this could be a good time to see how the materials that you have can be used for that purpose. Especially, that you can see that optical will be important.
Okay, how do you think we should do that?
Well, I was just thinking that material that you have, and then just like what we usually do, previously we invite you to come to the HR meetings, but more important to bring you perhaps speaking at the packaging meetings like ECTC, or just next week there will be a IMAPS meeting. So these are the places I think the bridge can be built in both ways. I think someplace I thought I saw an agenda you mentioned about advanced packaging.
I think it'll come up within the in the template right here.
Yes. And so in that place specifically, it will be people who are doing the design and doing the modeling. And these were the people who understand can how they can make use so that it could be optimized in both ways.
Got it. Okay.
I think you met some of the people in that area.
Yep. Absolutely. All right. Thank you all. This is this is a really good idea. We got a couple of good ideas circulating circulating a list of care abouts before the meeting. The intersection to packaging and be getting much clearer on our desire to produce a metrics white paper with a couple of fellow travelers. Anything else? If not, I'll move on to the second part.
Just one last thing, Boppy. I know we're talking about a white paper right now, but if the metrics get detailed enough, it might actually become a spec.
True.
So just something to think about, because then you could have a closed CLA group to push it forward at some point.
True.
Just some ideas.
It depends on how much pain Shahab wants to absorb. That is true. Depending on the okay. So, any other thoughts before I head off?
Sorry, Boppy. I'm just going to put out another idea out there for the group to think about. The other type of contribution could be a checklist, sort of, where it's something we use in the data center ready program,
Right.
where community builds a checklist, which has particular metrics behind it, but then someone could fill in the checklist and publish it. But the contribution of the community is creating that checklist. That's another kind of way this could be useful.
Okay. This might fall into the category of prep work we do before the workshop, circulating some sense of, hey, these are the things we could aim for. These are the metrics we should do. Please come prepared with some thoughts on them. Any other thoughts? Shahab, Quinn, anything on your mind other than going once?
No, but by the way, I have the Excel sheet. I can present it at any point if people can provide feedback ahead of time.
Yeah. Okay. All right. Then the next part of the agenda. There are two things. I think I can fit there. There are two parts in which I need help. Let me go to the harder one first, because that's going to take more time. So Cliff wants to do a post on the Experience Center. I sent this doc to everyone last night, kind of late. This was my thought on the outline. I've written sort of some text on paragraphs 1, 2, and 5. But roughly the idea is that we do an overview, and then in each of these, we can link to deeper dives on each of the demos if you choose to write them. That's roughly the mind. So I'd like to spend about 20 minutes or 15 minutes, whatever, on your thoughts on this, what we can add here in terms of by the numbers, and some firsts that will entice people to visit. So any thoughts, ideas? Is the structure okay?
So this is the Experience Center that we talked about, having people show their wares.
Exactly. This is the one that.
actual...
Yep. This is the one that AASC is sponsoring, Bill. This is the one that you joined as a sponsor to make possible. So these are the companies in it right now. Actually, let me get this one part here. So I've got Candu, Fraunhofer Samsung was not online. David, is it Siemens Anemoy or Siemens Trace?
Siemens Trace.
Okay.
And why do you say Palo Alto Electron by Siemens anyway?
It's a long story. Don't worry about it. I'll replace
Okay.
it. It's a, there was an original list and the point was to replace it. So
Okay, all
um,
right, go. Ah, okay, got it.
yeah. Marvell, Ayer, so is your Tim's not on? So I'm assuming it's going to be Ayer, Intel, ASC, UCLA, 0ASIC, Blue Cheetah. Oh, I got ASC twice. Then I missed somebody if I had ASC twice. Who did I miss?
Yeah, I think it would be very nice if you could if we could give a specific invitation to ITRI in Taiwan. ITRI has about 2 departments working specifically on chiplets, but I don't think
I
they
did,
have
Bill,
heard
but
of
they
you.
haven't responded. I've reached out multiple times, but we haven't had any luck with them.
Can you copy me on that email to invite?
Sure, I did.
Because
I can swear I did. Let me forward with you the one I sent about 4 weeks ago.
Yeah, yes, that's right. When you were invited, I was there. And I think Robert Lowe, who's the deputy director there, he said, who's Barclays and who's ODSA? So I think if I can reinforce that, it will be very good because they have a strong research group on chiplets.
All right. We can certainly give it a whirl. I missed somebody. Who the heck?
Yeah, hey Bobby, this is Keith from D Matrix. I don't know.
Good God, yeah, I
Is,
missed the Matrix. I'm so sorry. I knew I missed somebody important. Now, what the heck did I do? All right. Thank you, Keith. I'm glad you're here.
Yeah, I think the what I said to I remember when I said to Robert Lowe, I said you don't have to come because they have a group. ITRI has a group in U.S. I said you can just invite your U.S. people to come and represent you.
Right, but they're for whatever reason we haven't had any luck. I guess I should do this alphabetically or something.
Yeah. Yeah, I
Okay.
know that ASC is going to bring a silicon interposer to show.
Oh, fantastic. Okay. So this is our list. Okay, so I've got this down. I will change this. Okay, so now then I need help in this. Is this look good? Does anybody have any thoughts? People much more professional than I am at doing these things.
So this, Kevin, Bobby, I think it looks good. I did see that, the email you sent last night. I missed that you had text after this outline, but it sounds like I'm not quite sure, I just saw that now, but I haven't read it yet. So we've all put in our, I don't know, many of us have put in our 150 word description.
Right.
How does that fit into this? I'm unclear.
No, well, the intent. So that was where I started trying to fit all of them in, and then I gave it up as an impossible task. The blog, the whole thing would be 8 pages long. So what I'm thinking is that I want to summarize across the board, like this is why you should come, and then have links to each of your descriptions, either on your own websites or if we can create separate blog posts on the OCP website. I don't know which one works better. So your description would be a deep dive, would be sort of something you click through from here.
So it would be part of, would you turn section 4, for example, into participating companies, and then A, B, C, D under that are links to another page?
So that was that was open in my head. So sections 3 and 4 summarized everything, and maybe section 4 itself will also have the links, or whether I should have a separate one. It's not clear in my head yet. As just saying, hey, these are the find out, get more information here about each of the companies.
I think, as you said, trying to make them, I don't know, alphabetical or something, and then links and the 150 word or so is somehow behind that would be great, instead of trying to put all that into section 4, which would make it huge, right?
Yeah, but what I am looking for in section 4 is some sense of highlights, right? kind of like in theory, you guys were wait, no, you're Elian. D-Matrix was sort of the first AI chiplet with Bo or something along those lines, right? And Blue Cheetah was first commercial Bo IP, or sort of put a bunch of firsts there to say why this matters. And this is where I was looking for help from you guys to sort of come up with a bunch of firsts. And here I was thinking something corny like, 3 public, 6 private, there's a combined funding. We've got 3 categories of demos. We've got, so I'm looking for help in clever ways to characterize this by the numbers. Does this make sense?
Certainly the idea of trying to have firsts and stuff. I don't know enough about what all the other companies are doing to help you with that, really, I guess.
Well, what I'm hoping is that each of you will tell me something about a one-liner unique, and I can combine that. Right? What is
how do you want us to tell you? Do you want us to enter it on the?
No, yeah, just edit it here, and I can massage it after that.
Okay, so section 4, you want firsts or whatever.
Yeah, each company.
That's fine
Exhibitor.
with me.
Add single line. It's unique. This is what I'm hoping you all can do here if you like the flow. And then maybe just, like you said, do a click through right here. Cliff, does this make sense?
But it'll have the company name as well, or is that, how do you?
I don't know. It depends on how how we write it in some sense, I guess.
But you envision B is the first is D-Matrix, C there is Blue Cheetah.
Something along those lines is what I'm thinking.
Okay, well, so what I added is what Elian's doing.
Yeah, something along those lines. And then like everybody looks at it, and hopefully we don't have a collective heart attack on the claims, and we're all good to go. But that's roughly the. And Cliff, any clever ways of sort of doing a by the numbers? I just kind of like that. Any other clever characterizations? I'm hoping you guys can give me some ideas on clever ways to characterize a demo and what makes it unique. Did I lose Cliff?
He's there.
Okay.
He might be on mute. So I think the unique thing about so this is not the workshop, this is the demonstrations. Okay.
This is the experience center, yes.
Something about the optical is I think is very interesting in the industry right now, right? So how many optical demos do we have? 2?
No, just the one. I think Intel.
Just there.
Yeah.
Intel, yeah.
We're getting. We had 3 in the workshop.
Right.
It's like, oh, there's too much aliasing going on. Anybody else looking at this? If you have any thoughts, I'm all ears.
Bobby, you could just do some, summations like the amount of beachfront, the amount of bandwidth, the total number of die, things like that. That might be, might lead you to some other insights too.
I like that. Okay, so sort of aggregate. Interesting. Aggregate. Oh, I like that. Okay. Average form of the chiplets. Something like that. Okay. Okay. I was thinking companies, types of demos, aggregate metrics is what is really nice. I think we can work something there. What else?
You know, when I was at Samsung, they loved to do the world's firsts. A lot of the
Yeah.
things. So I don't know if you have anything that no one's seen before, but maybe you count it here.
Okay, world's first. No. Okay.
Unfortunately, you know, I've done a lot of these, and when you roll out a technology and you show it to the world for the first time, the first step is everyone's going to be astonished and they want to see how you did it and what you did, and you know. But if you're successful and they believe it, they think this is great, the next question is going to be, how can I do it? So,
Oh, right. Okay.
you know,
Okay.
so maybe this has to do with some follow on, right?
Meaning?
I don't know. I mean,
No, I mean, what did you have in your mind? You were thinking, I think I'm trying to tease out where you're going. I like it. So I sort of see
yeah,
it.
so the follow on would be like, how does, you know, what's the path towards the end goal, the commercialization, or what's the next workshop, or you know, I don't know what's the next thing. How can you convert this excitement over seeing this demo into some tangible activity?
Okay, so that's the plan section. I did have that, but I think I want to go. I like you triggered this. I wanted to put down number of product versus prototype splits,
Right.
and then go engage with companies to buy. Okay, let me put that in here as well. Okay. This I like this a lot. Anybody else? Any thoughts? Is Andrea still on?
Yeah, I'm still here.
Okay.
I mean, I'm trying to.
Well, we don't have to answer this right now, but if you can think about it online and enter something, it would be really helpful.
Yeah. So I mean, so our challenge is we're literally launching. We won't have a link or anything, right? So we're launching on that day.
Okay, so we got at least one in the first scene here. Okay.
Yeah. So
Awesome.
So I mean, I can say, you know, the first chiplet emulation platform. Yeah, I don't know. I'm careful with first because somebody's going to stand up and say, "Oh, wait, we have done this already," right? But I'm gonna...
Don't worry, man. Bijan has got this absolutely amazing liability insurance policy.
You know, actually, I also, you know, just to let you know, when we say first, when I was at Samsung, we said first. It didn't literally mean the very first. Okay, it's a very loose combination.
First Samsung or first, I don't know.
Yeah, when we said world's first, it just meant, yeah, we were ahead of commercialization. That's all it really meant.
All right.
Okay, I like. So if you can enter this here, and any other way, does anybody have any other thoughts on how we can characterize the experience center? This sort of anything else comes to your mind when you look at the Cliff had a nice line last night.
Hey, Bapi, just a question. When you write the blog post about this, are you going to call out the companies that are exhibiting?
Yes, that's the intent.
Okay, all right. If you do, then we will definitely give you a shout. Like if you have the link to the post, we can socialize it in our spheres as well.
Okay, so we might have put, I think I'm going to put company names.
Yeah, thanks, Bobby, for doing that at the Open Chiplet Economy, because I think what we want to do in 3 is relate it back to the table you have in your slide about all the different efforts that are needed to enable an open chiplet economy and how that links to that.
Yeah, there's a clunky wording, but I remembered your line from last night. I like that. So, okay, so this is it. So this I need individual companies to give me what's unique, and in the so I've got companies and institutions characterizing them, types of demos. I love this aggregate metrics. We've got to sort of get creative on this. The number of first seen here is good. We've at least got Andreas going long on that. And how many of things you can buy immediately are prototypes that are indicative of the future. Any other big thing? Maybe aggregate bandwidth across all the demos, it might be a corny metric, but I like it. we,
I'm telling you, people they remember the strangest things, and
yeah, I really like that. It's like, we've got enough to watch every movie on YouTube or something in 2 minutes. David, I need some help from you guys on like what is unique and what's the first, etc. And anything else you can think of.
Okay. Yeah, I'm sorry I've been quiet, but yeah, I understand. We'll so you want me to add a little bit of things in this, right?
One line.
Okay.
One line that characterizes it. I should say like one line with 10 words or something. Actually, I should say that.
Yeah. I guess I can say that we were the first to do the world's first. Anyway.
The first, yeah.
everyone's got to be first.
Everyone's got, yeah. Just let's have an endless row of firsts here. Okay.
Hey, Bappy, I need to drop
Yes.
before I did. I don't get to attend too many of your calls. Just wanted to say you're doing some great work here and keep it up.
Well, thank you. I'm glad you're here. I'm happy you joined us. Thank you. I hope we can do it more often.
Yeah, I'll try to. It's a bit busy schedule and you have a lot of meetings.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'll see you at Summit, if not before.
See you at Summit for sure.
All right, bye.
Thanks, John. Okay. Is this good then? Anybody else? Let me do a quick. Who's online? Somebody's got to be my victim for this. Anybody have any? Trent or Marek, you guys are to speak up.
Nothing to add, Poppy.
Looks good to me.
All right, I'll hunt you guys down separately.
I'm saving all my energy for Marek's call after this one.
I see. Okay. All right. Okay. So then we got, if this looks good, but no, everybody likes this general structure, so that we do a click through to your own detailed. Cliff, will the detailed posts be on their own website or on the OCP website? Which way does the cookie crumble?
I have to check with the powers that be, but we can check to see how we can host it. I think we should. I'm pretty sure we can host it without too much trouble.
Click through to your own detailed description. Also hosted. Okay.
That would be great if you can set it up that way, because then the links, I mean, you already have our text and the links would be all self-consistent and have to worry about broken links and stuff if they're all.
Yeah, that it might work out easier. And Cliff, does this meet your requirements, what you had in mind originally?
Yeah, Bobby, I think this is a good starting point.
Okay.
So you and I can work together to polish it up. And timeline, I'd like to launch this next week.
Oh. Okay.
If that's possible, because we're 3 weeks away from Summit, maybe a little bit more. So
publish on 10/2.
Yeah. Okay. That'll be 15 days in advance of the summit, so we can use it to promote.
Okay, so we can do the final version next week, published by 10/2. Okay. Okay, so that takes care of that. Unfortunately, I don't have, there were a bunch of questions I asked Rob. Let me go through this.
Can I ask a question just before you switch to that, since Rob's not
Of course.
here? Just, I want to confirm on the Experience Center, the registration, the way it works. I know we talked about it, I think last week, speakers will have or be registered. But all others are supposed to register and pay, and the booth members have to be identified in that worksheet to get early access. Is that correct? Those three things are correct?
Yes.
And so those of us have to register, we just go to the OCP site and register for Summit.
Yes.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah, and just one caveat to that, if your company is already a sponsor for OCP Summit, your company may have some passes.
Right. Yeah, we're sponsoring the lunch for the workshop, not the summit. So I think that doesn't apply to us, but I appreciate that clarification, Cliff. Yeah, I'm sure that applies to some of the people here. Thanks.
So, sorry, just to clarify, it said that we have to sign up anyone who's going to attend except for a speaker. Is that correct?
Correct. Speakers automatically get registered for free, but everybody else will have to register.
And sorry, maybe I missed it. Who is the speaker? Is that the first thing that was covered? The workshop stuff? Or
no,
is
no.
this...
So that is entirely orthogonal to everything we've been discussing. The speakers are people who speak at the OCP sessions, at the workshops and on the floor.
Okay, so just so I'm clear, at some point during this meeting, we talked about having maybe like some sort of people make a presentation for 15 minutes, there'd be a stage or something. This was maybe a month or two ago.
They don't count as speakers.
They don't count as speakers. Is that even happening?
Don't know yet, because we're waiting on the organizers to figure that out. I think the chances are pretty good, but we don't have a confirmation yet.
Okay, so that may or may not happen, but those
Thanks
people
for
aren't
bringing that
speakers.
up. Thanks for bringing that up, Keith. I had forgotten about that. In the floor plans, I had seen the layouts and stuff, Poppy. I don't see how there's space for that anymore.
There's a separate center. There's a separate stage on the exhibit floor. We will get to, yeah, right. Their speakers will get to occupy that stage for 15 minutes.
So there's a possible of a kind of a lightning round speaker.
Yeah.
Scheduled on a separate stage.
Yeah. And if we're exciting enough, everybody will drop everything and cluster around us.
Okay, we'll do that. We'll make sure that happens. Will be exciting. But the workshop though, that whoever's talking there, that's not a speaker either. That person has
that
to,
is a speaker. Wait, sorry. Okay, let me be. I apologize. This is the first time we're doing something. There's too many parallel threads. So the workshop on 10/16 is, we scheduled it to be in the same week as the Global Summit for convenience, but it's largely an event independent of the Global Summit.
Okay.
That's thing number 8. Now, within the Global Summit itself, the ODSA has what's called an engineering workshop, which is really a session devoted to the open chiplet economy. And we have a bunch of speakers on that. Those are the people who count as speakers. So we have 3 panels and a bunch of talks from different people. Those are the people who count as speakers right now. Every participant in that session.
That's the Thursday session?
That's the Thursday session, Thursday AM, some ungodly early morning time.
Okay.
This time, so it's not that early, but yeah.
Yeah, but you have to be there.
True. It's only like 8 to noon, I think.
Exactly. Yes.
Okay.
See, this is what happens when you let East Coast guys set West Coast times, right? But yeah, Cliff managed to get us a good full day, half-day workshop session. So that's entirely in the open chiplet economy. And then this third thing, which is the experience center, which we're also doing for the first time, which is a part of the OCP exhibit floor. which is a really high traffic area. Those are the three things. And within this experience center, we may have an opportunity for each booth to sort of go up for 15 minutes on the show floor and do a talk, but that doesn't count as a session in OCP Speak. So does that make sense? All of that?
I think so. Basically, yeah.
Go ahead. No, go ahead, Keith.
Lot of. No, I guess I'm still trying to wrap my head around everything, but it's fine. I think D-Matrix is not a speaker. That's kind of what I'm getting, but because the Monday workshop is something different. The stuff on the floor is not counted
No, the
as a
D-Matrix
speaker,
is.
if that even.
But I don't think anybody who's doing the demo. So JP from D-Matrix is a speaker on the builders panel. So the way, okay, let me hang on, Garrett, let me show you something. Give me one second. That'll answer your question.
While you're pulling that up, you said the workshop's Monday and the OCP session is Thursday. And the Experience Center, I believe, is Tuesday through Thursday.
Yes. Right, Cliff? This one I believe so. It's Tuesday, all 3 days. But I thought the Experience Center, the shop floor opens only in Tuesday afternoon, not on Tuesday morning.
So not Tuesday morning? Okay.
Yeah.
Because we said they had to have early access to set up. That would be great if it opened at noon, just
Oh, no,
because.
you can have access. Yeah, but you'll have early access. But I believe it's only. Let me pull that up.
Yeah, go ahead and pull up the schedule. Yeah, I don't remember when the Experience Center starts or opens to the public. The show floor.
Let me pull that up. It doesn't say, oh, Experience Center. Okay, let me pull that up. Okay, here you go. Let me pull that up again. So let me answer Keith's original question. Keith, this is the schedule of speakers for the workshop from 8 a.m. to noon on Thursday. And what we're trying to do is squeeze regular participants, new participants. So we've got, and you will see here, we've got JP from D-Matrix on building the chiplet economy. So anyone who's exhibiting who wasn't in any of these previous panels is in this builders panel. So it's JP, Majid from Candu, Andy from Fraunhofer, and Professor Iyer from UCLA.
Okay, sorry, I'm gonna keep being confused. So JP speaks on Thursday. He's a speaker.
Yes.
Is that what yes, okay, and then Monday there's a separate thing, and is JP already agreed to do that one, or this is
No, there's somebody else from your company. Unfortunately, I don't remember the name who's presenting. I'll tell you.
All right. It
I
sounds like
don't
that's
remember.
okay. All right, good, no problem.
Okay.
I'll talk to my company.
And then this is the Experience Center schedule. Opens at 11:30 on Tuesday. I believe all day on Wednesday and Thursday. Kevin, does that answer your question?
Yeah, I think I'm pretty sure Thursday closes at 2 p.m. But so it's not all day Thursday, but it's all day Wednesday, apparently.
Yep, you're right. 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
What does it say?
9 a.m. to 5 p.m. on Wednesday. And on Thursday, it's 8 a.m. to 2 p.m.
Thank you.
And then on Tuesday, it's 11:30 a.m. to 7 p.m.
Oh, 7, okay.
Papi, can you share that whole document with us?
Sure.
Anyway, I would love to have that from you, please.
Yeah, I'm going to put in the link, but this is basically from the OCP's website.
Thank you.
Okay, I think I should do one logistics email and on this. Okay,
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
of course. Okay, so there's a bunch of other little things. We don't have the tables issue sorted out yet. Whether you're going to have. Oh, there is one thing we need. The people are local, so we need 5 to 6 local companies to either bring their own monitors or buy a monitor from the OCP. So that's one thing on the local companies out of this list. If it's
So you have that in your spreadsheet. For example, I've already said that I'll
okay, I have that, right? We did cover this
we'll
last time.
rent one from them. I'm assuming you guys will handle the logistics. I don't know, but it's
We'll have
easier.
to figure. Okay, I'll ask Rob that there's some way to order this thing.
I don't want to carry it in and drop it, so.
No. If you order it, it becomes union installed. So
Yeah, that's what I was figuring.
So, but the where okay, I'll find it. Don't worry about it. If
Do you see?
Let me just do.
It's up higher in the document you're working on.
Yeah. Can you monitor? Yep. Okay.
I don't know if people are.
Randy, I see it now. Yep. Okay. 2 monitors. No. Eliana, yeah, I see it. Okay, good. Everybody's like we've got a good number of responses. We can sort this out. All right. Okay, that was good. Was there anything else? Chairs. This one I didn't get the answer. I was looking for tables were not clear yet. Okay, that's it. We need a 1 to 2 line description I will provide for the summary, and we need a station name. Cliff and I have to zero in on that offline, and we'll do that.
So the tables 3 by 3 or.
Don't know yet. That's the thing. So Kelly will get back to me hopefully by next week.
Okay. Great.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Poppy.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Hello, everyone.
Hello, Merrick. Hello, everybody.
Hello.
So I think we can wait a few more minutes and then we can get started. Thanks, Rajesh, for filling in, adding more to your section. We can talk about that today.
Okay.
I can already go ahead and share my screen here. Okay, I think we can get started. So for the meeting today, I think the two newer sections that we can discuss are what Rajesh added, and then I didn't have as much time as I wanted to work on the document, but at least I wrote a section on the faster time to market, how to think about measuring this in monetary value, and how to went through a couple of websites and added some references and wrote a short paragraph about that. So, and the other thing I'm just trying to do right now is writing down all the things that we still want to add to the document. So maybe we can start with just that section first. So the items I had on my list of what to do still is to write a short abstract for the document, to have an executive summary, to trim the document to about 20 pages. We still need a section on vendor related or like on chiplet related vendors, as well as chiplets events, or those were at least ideas. And then once we're at a, let's say, close enough level of what we think would be the final document, it probably would be worth for everyone to read it over and add comments. I'd already seen different people add their comments, and thank you for all those. That's really helpful to make sure that we're increasing the quality of this. Additional to the things that I mentioned, does anyone have other thoughts on things that we may have discussed in the past that of what we should be adding possibly? Or does that sound good?
That sounds good to me, Merrick. I didn't take notes, so I didn't.
Yeah,
I'm trying to remember everything you mentioned.
Yeah. No, so it would be, I guess, in the beginning of the document, an abstract and then a summary, then just more generally getting things like basically shortening sections, and then the two things that I feel like it would be good if we could, if people think it's a good idea to for the section about chiplet related vendors and events, if we can assign those to people on the call. I think we had something in that direction already. There was this one person presenting in the general meeting once about this slide that they'd made about the different companies involved in different aspects of chiplets. So maybe we just add something like that. And events, I'm not sure where to pull that one from.
Yeah, the events, maybe that can be kind of a group effort where we can all kind of contribute different events we know about. Of course, there's all the OCP stuff, but there's other, other organizations as well that are doing.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So to maybe just crowdsource that and say.
Yeah, and then when it comes to the resources, chiplet suppliers, that can get kind of big, right? There's tons of IP and then design, I guess we got to just kind of think about how do we want to scope that as far as
well, so I mean, right now we don't have it in the document, and it's a question of is it a value to people? I think somebody that is newer to the space may find it helpful.
Yeah, for sure.
I would definitely put a disclaimer on and say this is not an exhaustive list, because I don't want somebody to get upset and say why am I not on this list? And I'm happy to say if somebody comes later to say well, we'll add you in, no problem. But if we
Mhm.
phrase it accordingly, hopefully it would be fine to just do whatever we can based on the knowledge that we have.
Yeah, sounds good.
Does anyone have access to this one slide about the, or I think maybe that's even in the business workstream. I'll look at my emails. I think that may be the easiest way to get going by using that slide.
Hey, Marek, I think Bapi has it because he really liked it, and his friend generated it. So they presented it at the 8 o'clock meeting like a couple of months ago, right? That's the one you're talking
okay.
about.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay.
All right. I'm in my
Okay,
car, so I'm going to be very quiet today.
All good. What are we gonna do without you? Okay, sounds good. Then I'll talk to Bapi about that one. Okay. So then maybe Rajesh, do you want to talk about what you had added? I took a glimpse at it, but you can maybe talk through a little bit more what you had been adding here.
Sure, Marek. I think what I did was I went through rough quickly on the entire paper so that the reason I wanted to do that to make sense that section 5 fits correctly in the flow, right?
Okay.
And
you were cutting out for a second. I didn't hear the last half sentence.
No, I was saying that I went I read the paper, whatever the material was added, so that the section 5 makes sense, both in the flow, how it will be read as a third party. Just wanted to make the flow is flowing into the sections, all the sections. So it's really good. I really like the materials, all the contributors, amazing information. So I just made sure that some of the order I changed. I just went from economics. First, it was like we need to add what is this business senses making using economics section, but I decided to put the testability aspect first so that it makes the sense that we make the definitions clear. Although this is a business paper, just at least make the definition clear and make more meat on what is we are talking about from economics perspective, like economics of test. So what I did was I just populated some of the stuff which I'd added at which in my thought process. So these first standard, actually I mentioned all the standards which are basically any party who's reading it, so they should know what standards are actually currently being used and they are proposed and they are actually getting used and applied in all the way from chiplet to packaging side. So that is the first description. And then since we are talking about advanced packaging, I made a specific note to 1838, which is right now the current testability standard proposed, which is the latest in the series of all the test standards from IEEE. So that's I also added some references. So if you go to the second paragraph, that's where I talk about it, because I think the cost perspective from economics, the cost will be the major factor discussed to take away from this business paper, right? So this is going to be most economical approach to use and add this in any constituent chiplets. This is going to be on a advanced package, system and a package, because then the entire stack becomes testable. I did not add the picture. I can add a picture, but I think it is a picture is everywhere in all other work groups. You'll find a lot of pictures of 3D stacks, and so I don't know whether this from in this the typical very popular pictures of all this 2.5 and 3 3D stack picture is making sense, but that's what that 1838 will do. It will seamlessly transport all the test stimuluses up the stack and then make it accessible from the ground bottom chip for the output outside world for the AT. So that's the purpose, but I did not go and detail that out in this paper because you have a separate full paper section I have given as a reference. Anybody can refer to entire 1838 standard. But after starting with this background, I just go in and put together two ways to look into these test and probe aspect from cost perspective, like economic model perspective. First is system level packaging, I mean testability cost. So that actually I included 4 or 5 items, which will, I mean, I can put a picture of what I'm thinking about the model. Model will be sort of a chip level model and then package level, module level model for cost, and then all this chip and module level assembly will go into the final system and package level model, and then the rework, if there is a rework allowed to, I think somewhere in the paper, in this entire paper, it is also mentioned about repair.
Okay.
That I mean by rework. And actually, Boone also added one third section. It has added a table. So to make sense of that paper, I just added that my thinking about chiplet and the chiplet use inside system and package level. I think the D2D interface is going to be also very a new factor which will affect our cost model. That is my take. So that is mentioned if you go down a little bit. That is SIP level test, that is a system level, then die level, module level, and interface level. So I broke those cost modeling into 4. Like die level means I think everybody's talking about whether it's a bare die or package die. Then you get all those from we can put some numbers. I don't have the actual field numbers from the field because it will vary from product to product.
Right.
For die level test, like die can be 5 millimeter or 5 millimeter as opposed to 200 millimeter square, which is very big die. And I have seen also in a bigger die for that particular, like 500 millimeter square for a very big multi-core chip microprocessor. So that's why I did not put any number from actual business perspective. I mean, from actual vendors.
And by number, you would mean like number in terms of percentage of cost for a product, or?
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah, okay.
if you want to make, I mean, this is a guideline, right? So I don't know whether because this will be read by a variety of spectrum of chiplet makers, and chiplet maker cannot be say, okay, it will be a spectrum of chiplet people who will be doing a small chiplets versus large chiplets.
Yeah, no,
Like
I
memory
certainly
chiplet
like
versus,
having.
yeah.
Yeah, I like this, even at least this very rough rule of thumb, just to like orient people. Like I think there's a big difference if you're assuming it's just a percent of your package cost or of your product cost, or like say 50%. So having a number helps
So
people like realize, like at least gauge how much
yeah,
you can
so
spend
to
on this.
give, yeah, so give that if you go up a little bit, that 20%. So I've talked to, so this, if you look into that second second sentence which I've added, that actually got from I got from my communication and discussion with one full-time IT engineer from Texas Instrument. His experience, but he has, I mean, he has a very big experience of 20 years in AI, but now I think he's with Microsoft or some or Qualcomm, some other company. So basically, since he took my class, he was like my student, but I, as a thing, when I was teaching at DFT, he was mentioning what kind of, so that's a good way to look into how the DFT and what they are actually targeting. So TI, having worked for Sun, I know TI used to be a full foundry, a vertically integrated company, right? They had their own foundries, and a lot of folks use the TI foundries. And they are also already a leader in, already analog, since you work for analog devices. TI used also do all these um, signal processing chips and analog chips. So now I think recently lately they sold their foundry, but they are actually pioneers in DFT. So they know that every whatever they add scan path linker, and inside they do wafer test and die level test and then package test. Their rule of thumb is total cost, whatever you add, and cumulative cost. They try to keep it below 20%. That's the number I got. So I can also we can also take this from, and this die I have no idea whether it's a, I did not get the application domain, whether it's as a um, signal processing chip or how big that those die when it's at 20% of the die. But it's good to at least give the reference data point, and I can add that some meat there. So based on that, I went to the second model, which actually my thinking was we need to extend what we have learned in the past from when they build MCMs. And this exactly problem was when we talked about MCM and what is the cost model. So these papers were I happened to meet and talk very closely with the author of the third reference, who used to be Motorola. So if you talk about this seamlessly apply to what we are doing actually at the chiplet level and the system and the package level cost modeling from economics perspective. So I think what I added, that this die-to-die interface is becoming so important component itself, and not just for making a functionality work because of the partitioning and the way the chiplets are value proposition of the chiplet is, right. You take those yield increase happenings because you are basically building smaller die, and all these standard interfaces are putting on one particular standard between the chiplets. You can make them constant. But I also made one company who was presenting at chiplet conference last year. I think they have I think it's a startup, and they have also demonstrated that if you want to check the interfaces between die to die, then they could do it as a additional piece of hardware. So this is just an example, and that's why it triggered a thought that we need also to model those costs. That might happen because we are reaching the limits of the ATE, right? Because of the micro bumps and all those numbers were presented earlier in our paper. So you cannot expect this ATE industry to go with the same rate of development as our process technologies are increasing, especially 3D and with FinFET. So we will need some hardware on chip in system and package itself to make the test work. So that's why I added that interface cost model there. And then the third topic is, it's a very standard. We need to go from wafer level anyway. Although we are talking about chiplets, the chiplets are coming from wafer, so we also need to talk about those costs. And then I actually included them before packaging everything, what tests are done on the wafer level, probe test, and I depending upon what is we can get the state of the art probers are, we can put some numbers, dollars, if it is needed.
Okay, yeah, I think that then like probably also feeds well into the chiplet cost structure and the table that Anu and others had been working on that probably calls out most of these things that you're mentioning. And so then
Correct.
maybe they're put into context here first.
And actually, Anu's and her, they have a fantastic model. I think they presented in Berkeley also, that conference we attended along with when Bapi was there.
Yeah.
So they can do a lot of plug and play sort of mixture and give you the answer. I think the test factor was missing. But what I was thinking is all these tests we have to go and make sure that the cost effectiveness of the test will happen only when they are reusable at the highest level of system hierarchy. Because finally, with the current 3D, we can keep on increasing the memory stack, and we can keep on 1, 2, 3 levels of stacking up the stack and put in a very complex advanced packaging thing. If that entire product goes into a system, we need to make sure that software will be able to exercise those hardware features we have. That's the bottom assumption, that will reduce the cost and final thing. So that's why I mentioned here.
Okay,
Only thing I have
the
not
design for test section here.
Yeah, so I have not added the picture. Yeah, this is the sort of I gathered in the table how that cost affects from. Yeah, so basically, it's basically re-emphasizing the DFT strategy for hard speed test and built-in self-test. Yeah, because with the 1838 standard, you can basically 1838 allows us to do a lot of tests which can be done internally by sending the stimulus up and down, stack, whatever, 3, 4th level, check the die at the 5th on the top, and then because of the access, everything needs to be coming out at the bottom where the balls are. I mean, the ball grid array is talking to the printed circuit board. So otherwise, intermediate levels, you cannot access those and check what are the outcome of the test for controllability and observability. So according to the standard, is a specific modification of test access port TAP. So that's a very well explained in that. I am not going to add the same theory because I decided that this will be a sort of business.
Yeah, no, that's good, and we can link to maybe an article or so.
So I've already put the links. If you go down,
yeah,
these 3 are very important links
here.
there.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, these 3. First is actually 3 links. That's a very nice paper, and then instead of going through the entire because IEEE standards are at least 100, 200 pages. So these are a very good summary from Synopsys and IMEC. Both actually, Eric is the person who actually initiated that whole standard 15 years ago, 10 years ago. And then these 2 papers are actually, I extended their concept to chiplet and in a system in a package level. And that's how I actually summarized in earlier.
Got it. Okay. So I think coming back to your earlier question about images or pictures here, I think if you have something that like fits in either like so I agree that this image of the 1338 we could add it for now just to see if it fits space wise, but and I guess it's good for people to see like, okay, yes, you can only access one die through another die.
Right.
But it is an image that you see more often. But I think if you have an image to explain like either kind of the components of costs or like more based on like where in the flow of a kind of from wafer to final chiplet package or chiplet system, where you have these test points and then hence the also cost adders, that may be helpful just to visualize kind of like where like how these stack up.
Yeah, so I don't know whether we assume the audience to be knowledgeable of how the test cost is computed, or I can give an example. Like test time is like multiplied by what is the frequency you are shifting in, multiplied by the length of the scan chain, multiplied by number of patterns, and it's just a one-liner equation which will give you this millisecond. Okay.
Yeah.
And basically millisecond translates to the dollars. Basically, test time is nothing but a dollar. So if you want, I can put that, but I think it's a well-known fact. I think the audience will be knowledgeable.
Yeah, I mean, I guess like that first part, like it makes sense. I haven't thought about in that much detail. Like what I've kind of thought about before is like tests take a certain amount of time and the tools cost a certain amount per hour to maintain and to give you the output. Like if you go to an OSAT, so even I think that level we could include to just say there's a question of do you do a test or do you not do a test, but then if you do one, there's also a question of how long does it take. And how expensive is the tool to carry it out on, because that the multiplication of the two is going to be the cost of that particular test insertion.
Yeah. So thing is, I have mentioned that somewhere. I cannot pinpoint to you.
Okay, no, if you have it in there, then perfect. That's good.
The reason I have then as you go high in the upper level of packaging hierarchy, it is difficult to find out and repair the issue. So that's why actually basically it boils down to the importance of KGD, which I think it's already covered by some other sections, non-good die. So if non-good die is getting packaged and you are integrating into the module and module is getting integrated into a system on a package, then there is no way we will be able to repair it at a lowest level of hierarchy. So, but that's why I'm proposing that this built-in self-test will help, and that is indirectly affecting the cost. So that cost of repairing and making it work is integrated into the rework cost. So that's the third module. But I think I'll add the picture, because I think earlier a lot of packaging section I read, so many good pictures are there, so we know exactly.
Yeah.
So I can add that third testability, how it works in 1838. That is a very, very standard, and for any layman person who is from business point of view is reading, he or she is reading, that will make the things much clearer.
Yeah. That's good. And then if you have one here on the like an image to describe
yes
this
that
section,
I have that.
I think that could also be helpful.
Yeah. I can add that.
Okay. So in terms of
little bit
repairability,
of,
like no, go ahead.
No, I was trying to basically we need to have one more third eyes to make the clean up this section. Then we can stick to your word limit and all that stuff. Once I add this to it.
Okay.
Yeah, you're asking about repairability, right?
Yeah, exactly. So I guess my assumption was that at least for like, let's say for micro bumps, for sure, but I'm like maybe even like for chiplets with bigger bump pitches. How much is industry or different companies thinking about like using repairability beyond just spare lanes and basically putting in some redundancy? But like my assumption was that the way chiplets are built, that you wouldn't like pry off a chiplet and put another one in there, but rather like try to avoid it in the first place by going to known good die testing or something close to that.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that's how most people are going to approach it, right? I think repairing, physically pulling off a chiplet and putting on another one is going to be problematic. And I know that we just don't do it, right, in our company, and I'm not aware of other people who would really do it.
That is right, actually, Ted.
Yeah, I think it's like you said, the redundancy and design for manufacturability are going to be the keys.
Absolutely, that redundancy is going to be key for. I mean, today we have the tools from Synopsys who do support redundancy in especially D2D interfaces. So they all add this. I think that table is good. So just like memory redundancy, they have lane redundancies. So when I mean by repair, it may be also running the repair. I mean, that repair is work for also enabling the redundancy. So you don't have to pull a chiplet out of the package and put a new chiplet.
I see. Okay. So then I'm not sure if you have that in here, but I guess maybe that we specify what we mean by repair and that we're talking more about redundancy than repair in the traditional sense.
Okay, that's a good feedback. So basically, what Trent is saying, we don't expect, right?
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
There's
That is a practical
physical
thing.
repair. And there might be some, you mentioned I think the lane redundancy, right?
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
there could be some software repair done, right?
That is right.
And then the memory BIST, is a very important one also, for the
Yes,
known good
it's
die.
everywhere. Yes. So what I mean by repair, Mark, is when you are assembled, see the faults and issues can happen in all the steps of building the final system in a package because of the stress and all that stuff. So assuming that every time you have finished one step, you will going to rerun the test to make sure everything is okay. So when you're building the final system on a package, you have to run the final test from the top level. That's the whole idea of hierarchical test. So memory based inside some one chiplet, if it is failing from the top level system in a package, let's say we have some service processor who is accessing from all these and running, and you found some failures from memory base, you can also enable the repair using JTAG and all that stuff. So that's what I meant. It's not physically doing anything, but using soft repair inside one chiplet. It's just similar to replacing the faulty lanes from D2D or D2D.
Yeah, I'm not sure I follow that because I'm in my car, but as you know, with standard packaging, there is no redundancy, right? Either in BOW or UCIe, right?
Even for the die-to-die interfaces, there's no
Not in
redundant
the
lanes.
standard. Not in the
No,
standard.
both does have the repair for 2 bits of the data length. They have the FEV, the FEV, right? So if not mistaken, that is the single and the miscellaneous singles that you can use. Not on the package itself, but on the IO itself is already built in. The auxiliary and the FEC. That's a both.
Yeah, and really, based on the silicon size and really the amount of logic, right, in the bow and UCIe, I think we don't really expect a major yield problem with the bow or even the UCIe interface itself. And I think maybe some of the concerns might be more around the interconnect and possibly, interconnect defects.
Right. I mean, I
Yes,
think
so
you're right.
so
You're
that
right.
repair is that repair is for this purpose is for those bump to bump interface.
Yeah.
That's the reason.
So my take on this, actually, that's exactly the reason I added this new cost model parameter like interconnect. I mean, that's also of my very interested. Interconnect test is going to be, and defects are going to be the big problem. So that's why I said, I mean, it's covered in D2D. I think it is between both dies. There'll be some interconnect. If there is let's say PSVs, if there are some issues, and how are you going to debug that for that, and how are you going to make sure that we address those defects? Then there's 1838 and all this picture will come into picture, which I have added. That is called also, we need to address that cost also. Interface test cost. I mean, interconnect test cost.
Yeah, I just want to make sure I understand. So if you look at the redundancy standard that is put into bow and UCIe, that's run via the controller, right? That's independent of 1838 or something.
Oh, I see. Okay. But Cash, if
Then
there is some
there's an
problem,
algorithm. There is an algorithm to correct that, right? Which is part of the standard. So that would happen irrespective of 1838. I mean, is my understanding correct, or am I wrong?
Yes, correct.
I'm sorry?
Yes, seems yes, you're correct.
Okay. So it's two different things, right? So if you have the redundancy that the standards say, if that's actually implemented. So I think you might want to explain that, right? Because I think, that and UCI, I know, doesn't have for standard packaging. So this could be a differentiator to clarify that, if bunch of wires does enable it for standard packaging, then maybe that's an advantage, right? In cases where that assembly might cause a problem. As Trent said, I don't think the chips are going to go bad, right? Between wafer test and the final assembly, it's more likely that there's some, defect in the substrate, or the way it was put together. I mean, that sort of stuff happens, right?
yes,
So
yes.
particularly if you're stacking 2-3 wide, I mean, it seems to me that one should have the redundancy because you can't do rework, right? So, but again, that's just I don't have any data to support that, and unfortunately, maybe the people that have the data are not going to share it either. So
Actually, I'm in the same boat as you, Cash. This data is not, I mean, we are assuming that, like Trent said, right, chips may not go bad, but what if they go bad? What is going to happen? That is first thing. How it is going to serve our economics? I
right.
mean, and first thing, and second thing is, okay, I think I need to separate two things. If that UCIe and BIO has a separate controller for redundancy enabling,
Yeah,
then
I think it's good to highlight that. But
okay,
you
okay.
made an important question, which is, but I think the good news here is that the standards, at least for advanced packaging, have a built-in methodology, right, to take care of defects in the assembly process as long as somebody implements it, right? So
What is that? What is that process? Because you might.
there is a as was pointed out, both UCIe and bunch of wires have a, when the links come up, they test to see if the data goes through, and if a link is found to be bad, then it will switch, it will shift, right, the data in one direction or the other, right? So it's part of the standard.
So I think
That's part of the standard.
that need to be, I need to make some, because I have attended a presentation where this CAD tools, because when I was at Chiplet Summit yesterday, Synopsys presented the similar thing, right? They can do it, that redundancy, they can fix the redundancy. I mean, if the lanes have faulty, they can use the bypass the faulty lane and use the good lane. But I think they are doing it through their test suite. So I'm not sure whether it's part of their, that's why I included in this presentation that
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised that you can trigger like these tests when you do when you test like through 1838 or something else in a packaged part. But I think what Kash is saying, that as part of the startup sequence for the interface, they go through that iteration every time when they do link training. They check, is it going through, and if not, they will switch to one of the spare lanes. So in that sense, you don't necessarily have to, or I guess they put that in because there may even be latent defects that only show up at after like a year or so. But it is a good point to say, like, how much time are we spending at test figuring this out?
Yeah. Finally, time is going to be added cost.
Because the thing is, if it's part of the automated test that the system does that make sense? The chiplets themselves, that reduces that issue, right? The thing that I don't know is, again, this standard packaging versus advanced packaging. I know what the situation is in UCIe. I forget what the situation is with Bo. But UCIe has also added the concept of, adding sort of bit error sort of testing to sort of see, because even if the fault is like a soft fault, you know what I'm saying, or it comes as Marek mentioned, as it happens over time as devices age, right? So that can be tied into saying, aha, this is wrong, and either sending a report that up the chain to say that this is a problem, or you could obviously trigger swapping of lanes or whatever, if that's a feasible option. We might be getting too lost in the weeds, but I think it is worth putting some effort into this, because this is an area where, I mean, even we have questions, right? You know what I'm saying? So imagine an end customer, right? So
yes. I completely understand, and especially advanced packaging side, I also need to learn a lot of things from you guys, especially all the standards are evolving. So I understand the bit error and a single event upset might be just a soft error, but still the theory under this will be remaining the same. If there is a set deck or single error detection and correction, that will happen.
So UCIe 1.1 has you should check that, right? It does talk about the additions that they're making for measuring the quality of the links over time, right? So they have some registers that are added, so that's an important. And I suspect that if that solves a real problem, then I think UCIe would add the same thing. You know what I mean? If one's, if it's solving a, I'm not competent to say whether it really does solve the problem or not. I mean, Trent, maybe you have a view on that, right? Because you're that's your area of expertise in packaging and test, right? So is what they're saying valid, or is it more just fluff?
I think there is some validity to it. I think the option to have some some opportunity to do some on-chip repair, be it software or whatever, is I'm not so sure about the latent defects. So I think that that's I'm not sure how that would really work, but
So
definitely. Go ahead.
For latent defect, I think the latent defect means that's another big thing. You can add logic bist. Logic bist means it will randomly. I mean, latent defect means you are not basically knowing that there is a defect, but it is still there, but it is not getting reflected in the observable thing. But for that, we do add some random. So that is a part of the proposal here. I think even for functional safety standards, they have made this logic based mandatory. That
Yeah.
is supposed to be, so that is covered here. I mean, that's what I'm a very, without getting into technical things, I have given here what cost factors we need to consider, because adding logic based is not cheap. So that's why I covered, actually in this table, I can add logic based also.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah,
that's
for
a good
sure.
idea.
Yeah, for sure. With our
And the-
automotive products, we do.
And another thing is to give you example, Akash, about thing I was contemplating about when you are building a advanced packaging and through silicon vias going up and down the stack like 3, 4. If there is a issue, interconnect problem, short, open, or whatever capacitance or some between the vias are not getting sending the signal up and down then there has to be an interconnect test to be added, and that I was putting that through be done through 1838. That is actually well documented in the standard, and that will be definitely the cost factor, because you cannot just use the 1838 to run the chiplet level test, which will be stacked on top of each other, but also the interconnect between the chiplets.
Yeah, I would think that it could be run, with the same test pretty much, right?
Okay, so I think I'll need the add picture so that it will be a little bit more clear. And then I think
Yeah,
I
okay.
get the feedback from this nice Trent and Cash has given. So I can, and I think Boone has already added that third table he has added. So we can basically run that redundancy. Okay.
And then, yeah, and maybe just make it explicit that we're depending on that what we discussed, that it's like likely are going to be in the redundancy rather than the physically taking out bad die from a package, because that may not be feasible or is likely
Yeah,
not
yeah,
feasible.
absolutely. That is, I mean, I was also, it's different than taking a bare die out of the MCM compared to this advanced package. You cannot afford to take chiplet out.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know whether it is, I mean, ever been done.
Yeah, we should mention that that's a very difficult thing to do, right? And I mean, ignoring even 3D where it's going to be impossible to do, right? So it's very important to put in the built-in self-test and monitoring and things like that, or having some redundancy that you can change in the field. I mean, it makes sense, right? Because if one thing goes wrong and you have to replace the whole module, I mean, ignoring the cost of the module, I mean, this is, I think, why the automotive guys are like, right? I mean, the damn thing goes. I mean, the cost of fixing it in the car it would be huge, right? If they have to go to the dealer, you know what I mean, right? There's a huge pain factor, which is why they're very redundant. Why they're worried about it, ignoring the fact that it may cause you to crash the damn car, right? So I think that it's
I think the redundancy
it's
will be
something
the best
people are.
thing to add
So I think
extra chiplet,
we should emphasize that and say, hey, it's built into the standards, right? So and then give some more information. Hey, sorry, I gotta drop off because I have another meeting I have to walk to. So all right, guys.
No worries. Thank you. So maybe in the last 9 minutes, I can just quickly go over the section that I added. I would say it's definitely a bit more fluffy than what you did here with a technical background. But basically, I looked into myself a little bit the faster time to market and how we can go about basically advocating or like how we can assign a monetary value to the fact that a chiplet based product for portfolio, on average, you should be able to achieve a faster time to market than in designing each of these variants separately. I guess I didn't necessarily go into the option of doing like a big design with a lot of dark silicon, which has its own trade-offs. But I like looking through the like online articles that discuss this. I think the main thing, like everyone agrees on the same things. You have these three benefits here. That if you are able to go to the market first, you tend to higher market share. You tend to have a longer product life cycle if you again enter the market earlier, and you tend to have higher profit margin because if you're in case you're the first one, you have basically the most innovative product, so that is worth more than being the second or the third to market. So then I basically added just a paragraph why I think chiplets could be faster to market. One being that if you think about, say, a product family of, say, 6 products or something, and you are able to break this down into units that are just 2 or 3 base chiplets that can give you these 6 variants easily, then that I think is a way to get like that family launched quicker than if you go and basically start with one and then tweak it and design it and release a second and so on. So that would be one way. And then the other one, the more obvious case, is the reusing a chiplet from a previous generation or from another, like a neighboring application, or buying a chiplet from somebody externally, and just which effectively reduces the complexity and effort for the other chiplet that you're developing to build the system. And then one last thing that I thought was really interesting is I kind of looked 2 ways about this benefit, like where then if you want to actually go ahead and say, well, how do you now measure the benefit of faster time to market? You could basically, or my current understanding of it would be to say, you do 2 market projections with 2 different entry dates and look at how, like, this would be likely in conjunction with the marketing team to say how much, like, how long do you think your product life cycle is in both cases? What is the peak unit sales that you have? And then if you subtract the revenue from one scenario versus the other, then that's basically the benefit of going to market earlier. And then you can either divide that and use it to basically accept slightly higher unit costs, or you can say, well, with this additional revenue, you could justify a more expensive NRE cost, both of which I think would be helpful in a final breakdown of chiplets versus no chiplets. And one last thing that I thought was interesting, I kind of looked in whether like about faster time to market, but also looked into studies of delayed products, which I guess is just the flip side of you can also try to see what is the loss when you go to market later. And I found this one interesting study. Apparently this is fairly old, from like the 1990s or so, but where McKinsey was estimating that if you launch a product 6 months late, it may cost you 30% of your profits for that product. Whereas if you go 50% over, like 50% over in developing cost, that only costs you about 3.5%. So again, that is basically making the argument that time is of the essence, and that if you can bring something to market faster or delay or not get delayed, then that's a very big or that's very important and is something that saves you money. And then I found this one graph here that just like tries to illustrate basically how you can see the kind of revenue over time and what would happen if you were delayed and how much that does cost you. Do people think this is relevant, or like that adds to the discussion of chiplets and why you should consider doing chiplets?
Well, I think it's relevant, right? This is one of the primary arguments for chiplets, so it's definitely relevant. But as you point out in
Yeah.
the text here, right, it's very difficult to quantify, but I think it is still relevant. Right? It's kind of a, results may vary case by case depending on what kind of product you're developing and what kind of market it's going into, right? But I think this is
yeah.
It's definitely needs to be part of the discussion. I think it's relevant, for people to
Okay.
consider.
Good.
Yeah, Marek, I think it is good, real good information.
Okay, sounds good. Yeah, so I added a couple of references here of articles that this is based on, and there are some, like these articles themselves have links to more scientific papers, so it at least would give people a chance to like delve more into it. But as you said, Trent, it's very much still kind of a very uncertain thing, and I think what I realized is you probably don't get around talking to your marketing folks to understand in your specific case what is the cost or the benefit of being able to go to market faster. It probably depends on in each case on what is the competition doing. Do you know somebody's launching at a certain time? But I think for me the shift of just saying you can look at two projections and basically, even though you have to trust these projections to a certain degree, the difference of the two will create some kind of dollar amount that you can then use for justifying one way versus the other.
Right, and because it's I've actually have been in some discussions with our marketing team where the analysis has gone both ways. In one case,
okay.
Yeah, it was a product where being first in the market was, a huge benefit. And as you, mentioned here, it has a lot to do with, being able to demand a higher price and better gross margin on the product by getting there faster, right? So there was a case where even though the initial product cost was slightly higher by going the triplet approach, the decision was, yeah, let's do it, but, and then there was another case where we're being, we really didn't see much advantage being first to market because it was more of an automotive type thing. And it's,
yeah,
the launch wasn't going to be till 3 years from now. Right. So,
right.
It's definitely relevant.
Okay, excellent. Great. So then I guess, yeah, that is one additional thing in here. So to maybe wrap up, then I would say I think we have gathered good feedback for Rajesh on his section. And do you think, Rajesh, you can implement those things by next week so that we can look at kind of what a more final stage would look like?
Yeah, sure.
Okay, excellent. And then I'll add the two sections we talked about initially, the events, and also I'll talk to Bapi about getting that slide about the ecosystem. And if you can basically put in a couple of the events that you're kind of looking forward to for chiplet developments, then that would be helpful to generate kind of like what do people see as the key like events to go to for chiplet developments. Okay, so then thanks everyone for joining. And have a good weekend.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Goodbye. Have a great weekend.